New Zealand finishing off this tour then on a high note with this fantastic all-round performance with the bat, ball and the field. Henry Shipley chipping in with 3 wickets. Rachin Ravindra amongst the wicket takers as well. With the bat, you saw them lead from the front. Tom Latham was their main scorer, and Iftikhar Ahmed brought Pakistan close, but not quite in the end. Hello and welcome to Inverex Solar Energy Pitch Side Show for the last time on this tour. Congratulations to New Zealand for winning today. It was important for them to at least finish off on a winning note. From a Pakistan perspective, that might be the most short-lived, #1 ranking, but they still might have a chance when the ICC rankings have been updated. Of course, there were a lot of areas that they can improve on as well, and all of that will be discussed here with my guests tonight. I've got with me Uruj Mumtaz and Mark Butcher. Uruj, great win by New Zealand. First of all, you've got to give credit to them. The fact that they were 4-0 down in the series, the way they came out today, the way they played in all facets of the game, kudos to them.
I think with New Zealand comes fighting spirit, and they've shown that in bilateral cricket, ICC events. They came back from 2-0 down at the T20 series as well, and it was more like a New Zealand win with a 2-2 draw. I mean, if you put it in context with the second lineup, if you may say, that New Zealand had come this series as well. Tom Latham did mention earlier on that it was about adapting on the go because of short preparation leading into this. So for them, different players standing up at different times was very good to see. Will Young with the runs, Henry Shipley with the ball, and I thought that they did really well up front to get 300. Although Pakistan did pull it back in the end, but a convincing win, 47 runs. And like you mentioned, Iftikhar tried his level best, but I think New Zealand well-deserved win in the end.
But it seemed like Pakistan are almost playing catch-up in both the innings, with the bat and the ball, because you saw that flourish in the end by Shaheen Shah Afridi, and then with the ball, with the bat, Iftikhar Ahmed just sort of coming into the mix of things at the end. But just in terms of the start, New Zealand started off so well with the bat, and then they also got early wickets.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were stunning with the new ball. Having posted, I think 290 was par, and then we'll probably go into this later. If they'd had the right combinations, bowled more seam in the last 10 overs or so, I think they might not have made 280, or might have just crept to 280, which might have made things very different for Pakistan chasing. But with the new ball, they were absolutely superb. They gave nothing away whatsoever. And if you can keep Thakur quiet, you've got Shah Masood at the top of the order as well, who at the moment is under so much pressure as a player. There's a lot of talk that he shouldn't be in the side anyway, that Imam should have been in his place. The partnership between him and Thakur is a very strong one. So they kept them very quiet, put Thakur under pressure, knocked over Babar early doors. And from there on in, it looked as though the game was going to be a cakewalk from them. Positives from Pakistan, though. Once again, the middle order has stood up. That's 2 games in the trot. That, Iftikhar, combination of him, Salman has played superbly. A little bit too much to do for the guys below those guys, but there are 2 numbers there in 5 and 6 that have done very, very well for Pakistan in the last 2 games. And that is something they've been crying out for, and they have proven that they can do it if the big boys at the top don't make runs.
Yeah, Pakistan, from a bowling perspective, Butch spoke about this in the mid-innings, that, perhaps the bowlers could have been rotated or utilized differently. And, you've got the utilization here, Rouge. I mean, what do you make of this?
I mean, Butch did mention at the mid-innings show that the 5 frontline bowlers and only 1 bowls a quota of 10. Mohammad Wasim Jr., 6 overs, just the 24 runs, doesn't bowl out. Shadab doesn't bowl out. Haris Rauf doesn't bowl out. Osama Mir doesn't bowl out. And that's what cost Pakistan in the end, because they gave away 300 runs. And that's what came to hurt them. Maybe 15-20 short could have been a different story. But again, the story is not today. The story is about when the crunch games come on. When the pressure's on, the tactics and the playing the game in this situation, that becomes very important for Babar, and how then he puts his thinking hat on.
You had a big smile on your face, Butch.
I'm just looking at the figures there. I mean, Mohammad Wasim Jr. had gone at 4 and over. Seam had been so difficult to get away in the last 15 overs. And I was on commentary at the time, and I said, this is fantastic for Babar. He has got 14 out of the last 15 overs he can bowl with his seamers. Didn't bowl them, kept bowling the spinners. It was only in the last 5 overs where they went seam at both ends that Pakistan ended up, 32 for 5 at the back end. but by then the damage had been done and they managed to get themselves up to 299. I think that they should only have been chasing 280. So look, you know, that was an interesting one. Whether or not, of course, with the Series 1, Baber just going, OK, let's see how these guys go at the back end under pressure. You know, in another situation, we might have bowled more seam and done it the proper way. But I just thought it was slightly bizarre. And it meant that they were under more pressure to score at a higher rate right the way through the innings than they ought to have been.
It was 25 overs, so half the game Pakistan bowled with spin. They cost them 180 runs at over 7 runs and over. So, yes, I mean, it could be a case of, yes, Baber putting Usama Mir under pressure. Shadab and, of course, Wasim Jr. have done it before. But I still feel these are the kind of games where you want to be ruthless and close the game out and not let the opposition crawl back in, because time and again it's come to hurt Pakistan.
Well, it was important for the New Zealand bowlers to avail the opportunities that they were given, and Henry Shipley is definitely that one guy who made the most of the opportunity that was given to him. He's also a hero of the day.
Hero of the match, brought to you by Inverex Solar Energy.
The one thing that we've loved about New Zealand players throughout this series has been their ability to capitalize on the opportunities given to him, bringing it back in nicely and then taking pace off the ball. I mean, that's the one thing that we've seen throughout for them. He's tall and he's got that extra bounce as well, did really well.
Hero of the match, brought to you by Inverex Solar Energy.
Henry Shipley then, Rouge, I mean, you've got guys like Henry Shipley who got an opportunity, McConkey as well. There were certain players from New Zealand who perhaps not part of their regular side. I mean, you'd probably have the other guys get, in first. But it's just nice to see when you are given that opportunity, you try and score some runs or you try and take some wickets, because who knows, there could be an injury tomorrow and next thing you're on the plane.
I mean, we've spoken about this, that New Zealand being such a small country with such less population still manages to send out a relatively second 11, which is able to draw the T20 series from behind 2-0 to all, and even play bits and pieces of good cricket. They just couldn't consistently play that longer lengths in the game. But it's about, as a player, when you get these opportunities, knowing that there's a huge likelihood within those 8 or 9 players come back, you won't get a go. But then it's about either you grab it and go have some fun out there, which most of the New Zealand players did, or about you succumb under that pressure and be like, sort of, oh my God, what am I going to do with it? So I just feel being in that situation where New Zealand was, where most of the players are like, right, maybe one of us will get a go. Will Young probably sticks his hand out in that position. But I really think there was a good opportunity which most of their players did grab.
All right, good on New Zealand then, but from a Pakistan point of view, we've spoken about their bowlers and utilization of bowlers, but where did the batters go wrong? Was it the combination? Was it just runs at the top? Where were they lacking? We'll find that out on the other side. Back on the Inverex Solar Energy Pitchside Show, and a huge congratulations to Pakistan for winning the series, but New Zealand performed really well today, and Pakistan will perhaps look back and think, where did they go wrong? So, Rouge, we've spoken about the bowling. Let's talk about the batting. They were chasing 300, always required a good start at the top. Didn't really get the runs from that top order. 7, 1 and 9 were the contributions from the top 3.
And that 7, 1 and 9 kept Fakhr at 33 from 65. So essentially the top 4 didn't have an impact, which Pakistan is so used to with the combination of Imam and Fakhr. Now, whether that's rotation policy, Baber did mention at the toss a couple of games ago it was a niggle, but then I think PCB confirmed there was just rotation policy and Imam's being rested. Whatever the story is, but you don't shake up, come the World Cup, Imam and Fakhr up top. Baber had a bad outing, fair enough. Rizwan again wasn't able to capitalize. It was a short one. Henry Shipley targeted him and eventually got him out. But for me, the biggest standout is, again, Iftikhar Ahmed. He's kicked the door open. He's probably broken it down for the Pakistan selectors. Again, it is mind-boggling that how, in the form that he was, didn't make the one-day squad in the first place. But let me tell you, there's no way anybody can put him out now.
It's a nice way to sort of make sure that you are part of the squad, though. If you score a 94 and then contribute, then you can bowl a bit as well. But you look at the opening combination and, you followed a lot of Pakistan cricket in the last 1 year. Imam and Fakhr seem to be that one combination that have done really well for Pakistan.
Absolutely. I mean, Imam, Fakhr, Baber in the top 3. They're the best in the world. They're all 3 of them in the top 10, with Baber at number 1. So, yeah, I mean, you would have them together in the World Cup no matter what. I actually think today it was a good thing that the top order failed. It happens so rarely. You know, we talk about the middle order so often. They very rarely get the chance to go out there and bat like that. You know, have plenty of overs in front of them, get the chance to get themselves in and try and you know, try and win the match for the team. So often it's the top order that does it. So I think there was nothing but positives there. Yes, of course you'd like a better start and you want Pakistan to go out and win 5-0. But as much as New Zealand have had things that they've learnt from in this series, Pakistan have as well, and that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with your thoughts. There's so many times when you see that teams have openers who do really well, and come the crunch moment, because the middle order has not been tested, it becomes a bit of a spot of bother. But like, good on Pakistan, because we saw Iftikhar Ahmed do really well for them, and that might have solved a problem or two. Right, now time for the stat attack.
Stat Attack, brought to you by Inverix Solar Energy.
Leading run getters in this series, Fakhar Zaman is right at the top. No surprises there, because you know, he scored those big hundreds, 363. Daryl Mitchell, you know, with 297. No surprises there. He's been the promising one for New Zealand from their perspective. Tom Latham chipping in. Babar Azam had to be there. And Will Young, you know, you've got to talk about Will Young as well, because he's given New Zealand those starts, scored those 80s, and just some kind of stability at that top. You know, Fakhar Zaman, yeah.
What do all of those batters have in common?
You tell us.
They all bat in the top three. They all bat in the top three. That's the best place to bat in ODIs, you know. Quite often it's the guys who are batting 5 and down who have all the pressure to deal with. So these guys get all the glory, they get their names up in lights and they win all the Player of the Match awards, but it's the blokes in the middle that have to get down and dirty and get you over the line.
Especially when you're chasing big totals. Rouge, Fakhar Zaman, you know, let's talk about him as well, because when you look at his T20 career, there's been so much inconsistency. Sometimes he's been playing at that number 3 spot, sometimes he's at number 5, sometimes he's been opening. There hasn't been a consistency on his batting number, but look at the ODIs. He's been opening for a while and he's been scoring these big hundreds. It's not even about, if he scores a 50, then he just, you know, you're just expecting him to score that 100.
I mean, consistency means something, and it has something to show for in Fakhar's case. The other thing what Fakhar does really well is that he loves chasing. There was a stat that Maz pulled out for us, was that he averages 83 plus when Pakistan are put up to a chase of 300 plus, and twice he's been able to do that. So I think he's just a class act. He's one of those players who's a match winner. And look into the history in Pakistan. He's come to the party when Pakistan's required most, even at global events. And I think that, and again, let me say this, because Babar Azam is Babar Azam, he's got such a presence, sometimes I feel Fakhar just sort of goes under his wing and doesn't get the due limelight and the due credit. He is a phenomenal player in the one-day format, let's not forget.
Absolutely, and we spoke about the most amount of runs in this series, but let's have a look at the bowling department, the most amount of wickets in this series as well. And Haris Rauf is right up there with 9 wickets. Shaheen, the Qalandars duo, both of them at the top. Matt Henry, he's had a great series. He's been bowling particularly well with Mohammad Wasim and Osama Mir. You know, Haris Rauf, again, Rouge, you know, when you talk about Haris Rauf, more often than not, you look at Shaheen Shah Afridi as the leader of the pack, but he's got that ability to take wickets at crucial periods.
Absolutely, and not just in one-day cricket, even in T20 cricket. That's probably where his progression has been. Made it to the T20 format first, and then progression into one-day. And even in the T20, he bowls those important overs, one in the power play and then in the back end of it, where the ball's flying, where the players are going at you, and he picks up wickets. Same thing in the one-day format as well. Finishes the back end really well with Shaheen. And I think Pakistan, again, you look at Pakistan, the top 4 are sorted, the bottom 4 are sorted, right? You got your 3 seamers and Shadab, you got your top 3, and if Rizwan slots in at 4. All you have to do is fill in those 3 spots in the middle. I think Salman Ali Agha, Iftikhar have done the job, and they still have an option whether you go with the hard-hitting of Mohammad Haris. Well, and I've said that again, either you bring Imad Wasim in, I don't know whether he comes in or not, but you got Nawaz in there as well. So Pakistan are very close to their ideal 11, and again, you got 8 players out of the 11 who can win you matches single-handedly. So that's a very strong one. But Haris Rauf, again, at the death, he is phenomenal.
Yeah, one thing about Haris Rauf, Butch, and You must have seen that in the PSL as well, that he wears his heart on his sleeve. You know, he is somebody who gives in his 100%, regardless of what the wickets column is looking like at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's a terrific competitor. You only have to watch him out in the field, you know, diving around, taking great catches, running about and patting his teammates on the back and enjoying their success when they're having a good time. You know, Mohammad Wasim Jr. is probably not in the top three if Pakistan only play 3 quicks, but he's a terrific player as well. Similar in the field, runs around, great pair of hands, can also bang the odd one out of the park. So Ruji's absolutely right. You know, when it comes to the fast bowling stocks, they've got it all sewn up. They really have. If they bowl the overs, then everything will be fine. But one thing I will say is, you know, that Pakistan may or may not play any more one-day international cricket between now and the World Cup, which is what baffles me about the idea that you would split up that brilliant partnership at the top between Imam and Fakhar. Don't mess with something when it's working. Don't mess with it. Keep it going. Make sure that they get as much time as possible. And don't mess with what works for you at the death, which is bowling your pace bowlers, hitting Yorkers, bowling slow balls and picking up wickets. You never know. Pakistan might not play another game between now and the World Cup, and they've kind of lost the momentum and all of the good things that they had been doing up to that point by this one performance tonight.
All right, but you know, we've got to look at the positives as well and weigh out the areas of improvement and things that can be fixed, because there is still time before the World Cup. But that was the Stat Attack for you.
Stat Attack, brought to you by Inverix Solar Energy.
Well, because this was the last one-day international that we had in Karachi, the fans turned out in great numbers. In fact, that's the best crowd that we've had in Karachi out of all the games, which was great to see. There was a great buzz around the ground, and they were cheering for New Zealand as well as Pakistan. It's time for fans' verdict with Mehak.
Well, the last and 5th ODI comes to an end here at National Karachi Stadium, where New Zealand declared their first victory in this ODI series. And the crowd turnout actually turned out better today than the previous matches. So let's go speak to the fans and ask them their experience from today. बेशक पाकिस्तान की टीम आज हारी है, लेकिन आपने मैच लाइव एक्सपीरियंस किया और काफ़ी एक्साइटिंग मैच था दोनों टीम्स के दरमियान, तो कैसा लगा आपको?
बहुत अच्छा लगा, मज़ा आया। एक वक्त मैच ऊपर जा रहा था, कभी पाकिस्तान के नीचे आ रहा था, तो बस इफ्तिखार के लिए बहुत वो बोलूँगा, इफ्तिखार ने बहुत प्यारा खेला। बस उसकी सेंचुरी रह गई, अफसोस है उस बात का, लेकिन कोई बात नहीं। न्यूजीलैंड ने अच्छा खेला, बॉलिंग बहुत अच्छी की न्यूजीलैंड ने, फिर कोई बात नहीं, हो जाता कभी।
न्यूजीलैंड की टीम इधर आई, उन्होंने T20s में बहुत अच्छी फाइट बैक की, ड्रॉ किया सीरीज़ को, और अब ODI में भी आज उन्होंने अपनी पहली जीत हासिल की है। तो न्यूजीलैंड की टीम के लिए आप लोगों के पास कोई मैसेज है?
हम कहेंगे आप फिर हमारे मतलब फिर खेलने आए, हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा। आप आए, बैड लक हमारा आज था, हमारी टीम ट्रॉफी तो हमारी थी, बहुत अच्छा लगा, प्लीज़ फिर से आए।
और आपने बहुत एंजॉय किया उनकी एंटायर जो उन्होंने क्रिकेट खेली अपनी साइड से?
जी, बहुत मज़ा आया। हम ये कहना चाहेंगे, हम उनको फिर से आना चाहिए, पाकिस्तान विजिट करें, और आफ्टर पाकिस्तान हारा है तो लेकिन काफ़ी ज़्यादा मज़ा आया, एंजॉय करा है।
ट्रॉफी तो हमारी थी, चलो क्या हुआ, आज बैड लक था, बाबर का 100 ODI था, बट वी रियली एंजॉय।
लगता है जिस टीम को आज आप सपोर्ट कर रहे थे वो जीत गई है, तो कैसा आपको फील हो रहा है उनकी पहली जीत के बाद?
फीलिंग्स मैं तो बोलूँगा कि हमारी तो फीलिंग्स पाकिस्तान के लिए थी, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान नंबर 1 रैंक पर आ गई थी, तो मे भी अब पोजीशन डाउन हो जाए पाकिस्तान की, लेकिन फिर भी हमें अच्छा फील हुआ क्योंकि उनके सारे यंग बॉयज़ आए हुए थे खेलने पाकिस्तान, तो हम इसीलिए उनको आज सपोर्ट कर रहे थे, क्योंकि वो पहले 4 मैच हार चुके थे, तो आज हम उनको सपोर्ट कर रहे थे और वो आज जीत गए।
सीरीज़ ख़त्म हो चुकी है, पाकिस्तान ने सीरीज़ 4-1 जीत ली है, तो आप बताएं कि आपको ओवरऑल पाकिस्तान की परफॉर्मेंस इस सीरीज़ में कैसे लगी?
ओवरऑल परफॉर्मेंस बहुत अच्छी थी पाकिस्तान की, आज थोड़ा सा डिसअपॉइंट किया है। क्लीन स्वीप होता तो और ज़्यादा अच्छा था, लेकिन ये है कि बहुत अच्छा खेला है। कांग्रेचुलेशन पाकिस्तान टीम, पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद।
और न्यूजीलैंड के बारे में आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
उन्होंने भी बहुत अच्छा खेला, और आपको पता है कि पाकिस्तानी वैसे ही मेज़बान हैं, तो उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा, उनको भी सपोर्ट किया आज ग्राउंड में, तो बहुत अच्छा खेला न्यूजीलैंड ने भी, तो उनको भी कांग्रेचुलेट किया आज के मैच के लिए, कांग्रेचुलेट करते हैं, और पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद अगेन, वंस अगेन।
Well, the series and New Zealand's entire tour of Pakistan comes to an end here today, and it's been an absolute treat for the fans to watch as they got to experience some brilliant cricket as cricket came back home yet again. And despite today's win for New Zealand, Pakistan still went on to win this ODI series 4-1. Well, that's it for now, and it's goodbye until next time from me from National Stadium, Karachi.
Well, thank you so much, Mehek, for bringing all the fans' verdict throughout the series. Arooj, just in terms of preparation for the World Cup then, you know, Butt spoke about it, but how do you look at this side? How do you look at this combination? What do you think is going to be key?
I mean, we're sitting here and people who might have just tuned in probably thinking, well, they won 4-1, what are you on about? I mean, let's not take anything away from the positives. They've been plenty. They won the series in convincing fashion 4-1. But if you want to win global events, if you want to be world champions, and again, we said this earlier as well, the pinnacle of one-day cricket is the World Cup, the one-day World Cup, and that title. And Pakistan hasn't won it in a very long time now. And it's things like this which need to be fine-tuned, which need to be critically analysed, because when the big stage comes around, Babar Azam will have to have his tighter group together doing the right things at the right time. And I just feel that is why these discussions become very important, and that's why this series was very important.
All right, thank you for that, Arooj. Mr. Butch, I think it's time to call it a night, but before we go, I'd like to ask you how your tour went. What was the highlight? What did you enjoy the most?
Well, you know, how many tours have I had throughout the course of the Pakistan cricketing summer?
He's a local.
Yeah, it's fantastic that the welcome that you receive here in Pakistan, the people working with you guys, as much as you give us a load of stick most of the time, the Goras, we absolutely loved it, myself and Grant. And yeah, I'll come back anytime. Thanks for having me.
How was the food?
Awesome.
What about you, Arooj? What did you enjoy about this tour? Because we're signing off. I don't know when we're going to be back next, so...
Well, it's been a fantastic season. It's been a very long season, a very good season. Worked with some amazing people from across the globe, you as well, in very fond corner as a friend of mine. But I think in cricket terms, lots for Pakistan to learn from. Results really haven't gone their way, but it's been a good season overall for Pakistan cricket and international cricket continuing to return home for Pakistan.
All right. Thank you so much to both of you then, and thank you for all the amusement and keeping all the humor in to keep us all alive and kicking. And this is how it went, really. Pakistan were on a roll when they started this ODI series. They won the first 4 pretty convincingly, but now New Zealand with something to smile about after this 5th one-day international. Well, it's been absolutely amazing bringing all the coverage to all of you. The games have been great as well. From a Pakistan perspective, I'm sure all the fans are happy that Pakistan has won the series, although they've lost the game today. But overall, plenty and plenty of positives going ahead, looking into that World Cup. From now, from all of us, until next time, whenever that may be, it's good night and goodbye.
Oh, is there another one? How good was that? It was right on the toes.